There was no ticket price, there was no fences, there was no end time. Someone called us 72-hour party people. It'd start on Saturday night and it'd finish on Tuesday.
In the 1990s, nobody partied harder than the Raver, and no one raved harder than DIY Sound System. Formed in 1989, the Nottingham-based house music collective were pioneers of the dance music and free party scene. Huge countryside raves that went on for days on end. It was all going well until the infamous Castle Morton Common Festival of May '92. 20,000 people descended on the field for the largest unauthorised rave in history, with DIY hosting one of the biggest sound systems of the event. Complaints from residents and politicians led to the 1994 Criminal Justice and Public Order Act, shutting down the traveller rave circuit for good, in theory at least.
It was Friday night and Harry was up there and he was telling us about this party and he said it's going to be a big one. We got a hire car and we drove down there on a Saturday and it was like going into Mad Max land.
I don't remember who drove me there, but I had a fiver in my pocket and I had a box of records. It felt very much like the kind of apex of everything that we'd created and worked towards, but it also felt like something huge beyond any single person's control.
I remember it just going on and on and on and being so massive and so overwhelming.
It was just cars all over the place and sound systems coming in and setting up. It was like Glastonbury but no fence. And it just went off.
I was on top of a bus as usual. The police drove up and they were filming us every time they came past. We'd be like, really going for it, dancing, thinking we were in a pop video, and actually, it was the police with the evidence.
It was the first big festival of the year, and it was beautiful weather for 5 days. All the ingredients were just perfect, and it was kind of the end of an era, really. It was just so blatant, so outrageous, so deranged, so criminal.
There was a lot of people from different worlds coming together and just really enjoying each other and not being against each other at all,
Now, after 5 days and nights, the party is drawing to a close. The music still blares out, but only 3,000 travellers remain. And not before time, according to local residents, who claim they've been under siege and that picturesque Castle Morton Common has been wrecked.
So basically DIY was a slowly evolving dance collective. We started off doing house parties, and then in 1991 we bought our own sound system, becoming one of the first house sound systems in the UK and probably the world. We just slowly attracted more and more of this incredibly fertile, creative cross-section of people. And we just kind of slightly took over the world in a rave kind of way.
DIY for me was a way to explore music and a new culture that was emerging at that time. It was a collective of people that wanted to put on parties without the constraints that were put around them during the 80s.
So we started doing club nights relentlessly. Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, going out 3-4 times a week. Where we were kind of different, I guess, we were a collective. So at the end of the club night, all the DJs got paid the same, lighting guys and the sound guys get paid the same. So we were basically socialists, where we were anarchists. And we used acid house as our medium of trying to change the world, but whilst also having a great time.
There was a lot of politics involved. We were all children of Thatcher in the sense that we were trying to kick against what had happened to a lot of kids growing up in that era. You didn't feel like you had a career path ahead of you. You didn't feel like you had any opportunities of life to go into. So the idea that there was a subculture that you could completely immerse yourself in was really attractive and really exciting.
There were a lot of people who were on the dole, a lot of people who were struggling financially, and this was an outlet. When that goes on, when you ground down week after week, every weekend you're just out till Tuesday, and you'd eat on a Wednesday and then go again on a Thursday. That was the cycle for a good couple of years.
In 1990, we met some travellers who lived on the road, who had generators, and we just suddenly threw this party with them. We never thought the idea of doing acid house for free outside, and it was a marriage made in heaven. So Free Party, it was a joint venture between Urban Sound Systems and Urban DJs, travellers in the countryside who had no start time, had no end time.
So it's a place where people could go. They didn't have to pay to get in. They didn't have to dress a certain way. They didn't have to behave a certain way. There was a real sense of sort of camaraderie and that you were on the edge of a movement that no one else was involved in.
You'd drive in and you could hear this like And in the distance, you just see like lights flickering. I don't know, the excitement was amazing, really. Oh my God, I feel really good. Oh God, I'm gonna cry. I'm sorry, I just feel really emotional about it. It was a really amazing time.
You saw someone walking down the street who was dressed a bit like you, and you'd have a little wink and you'd go into the raves, and it was that underground thing, and it was exciting.
So the ethos of DIY was one of acceptance and inclusivity.
We had punks,
Crusties,
Townie, ravers,
hippies.
black, white, gay, straight.
I mean, just every type of person went to these parties.
We did legitimate club nights, usually on a Friday, and on a Saturday, we'd use that money to do parties. And when we were arrested, which was quite a lot, the police just never believed us. They're like, where's all the money? And they'd say, well, turn your pockets out if I got 12 quid in a packet of fags.
I'd say the maddest one was when we drove down to Dordrecht and got down there for the Saturday night, and we got up the next day, and in the night the mayor and the police had been down and shut it down, so there was no party. It just went off without any music. It got really, really messy. It ended up with people playing car football with 6 feet bales of hay that were just rolling down fields over people's tents and stuff like that.
We did a party in New Year's Eve 1992 near Bath. We had our entire sound system, which is on some of these photos. It was quite big, and there was a pay rave down the road called Fantasia that was. And loads of people came from Fantasia, and there was probably 2,000 people there. It was on a beautiful farm. Even the farmer was having a meltdown, and we were in his kitchen just bribing him more and more money. The police were on the phone threatening to arrest him, and the party went on and on and on, and Jack was the final DJ, and he played Fight the Power by Public Enemy as the final song on the plate. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
So a lot of local police forces around Britain at that time were used to dealing with nightclubs in town which were full of people drinking and fighting. And there wasn't a lot of drinking and there wasn't any fighting. So they weren't used to people who were friendly, loved up, happy. I think that used to throw them off guard a little bit, you know.
For a long time we were ahead of the police and ahead of society, but I think things like Castle Morton were the ones that went too far. What we had was very, very special, and I've not seen anything quite like that ever since.
On December 14th, 1991, mere days before the Soviet flag was lowered for the final time, a monumental party took place at Moscow's Space Pavilion Museum. Surrounded by rockets and satellites that represented the greatest prides of Soviet achievement, thousands of Moscow residents experienced the sensory overload of a rave for the very first time. The mood was one of overwhelming catharsis. There was the literal freedom to move and dance wildly after generations of discouragement. There was the optimism of a future where stores would be fully stocked, where politics would be secondary to passions and desires. Of course, these dreams did not happen. The 90s would be one of the most difficult decades in Russia, where life expectancy fell 8 years, and organized crime and hyperinflation simply replaced the pains of Soviet oppression. For some, like BBC filmmaker Adam Curtis, the Gagarin Party was the perfect metaphor for Russia's decline. Thousands of untamed partygoers dancing quite literally on the proudest monuments of a fallen empire. Like the Monsters of Rock concert 3 months earlier, but with far more dramatic symbolism. Regardless of how one perceives it today, the Gagarin Party was clearly a major musical event, and one that had some pretty wild music. So let's dive in. So if your first reaction to hearing the word rave is to imagine empty-headed trust fund kids in an orgy of indulgence, we need to challenge that preconception. Raves grew out of the same underground do-it-yourself culture as punk or early hip-hop. The genesis of the Gagarin Party was these two men, brothers Alexei and Andrei Haas, bohemian 20-somethings who were fixtures in Leningrad's underground music scene, but not really sure what to do with their lives. Like many Soviet cities at this time, Leningrad, soon to be renamed St. Petersburg, was completely broke and unable to maintain many of its historic buildings. Great big structures on the canals in the city center were completely abandoned, like this one at 145 Fontanka. In other words, they were the perfect spaces for artists like Alexei and Andrei to move into. For a bottle of vodka, they hired men on the street to demolish decaying walls. They restored the heating and utilities. And gradually, over the next year, the apartment began to take shape. It became a gathering place for artists, musicians, fashion designers, intellectuals, and weirdos of all kinds. But above all, it became a dance club.
Rock the house, y'all.
Включаете телевизор, даже там какие-нибудь убогие ленинградские программы или центральное телевидение, там сплошной рок-н-ролл, там сплошные безмозглые идиоты, корячащиеся с электрогитарами, поющие непонятно о чем, то есть...
Indeed, just as in other European cities, a new type of music was taking hold. Chicago house and Belgian new beat were replacing, or at least complementing, the hollowed status that punk and new wave once held. The fall of the Iron Curtain brought artsy 20-somethings from Western Europe seeking adventure, and some brought turntables with crates of records. DJ Joachim Garou from France recalled the first time he attended a Leningrad party. He was confused why so many car wheels were stacked up in the hallway, to which somebody casually explained, "Oh, when you park your car here, you take the wheels off so nobody steals them." Crime was an issue that would plague the Haas brothers' attempts to expand their club into larger spaces. They hosted several shows at Leningrad's planetarium, but these attracted the attention of gopniks, who would harass and intimidate attendees. The Haas brothers were also facing the threat of...
All right, sorry, I just wanted to have my salad. We're good now. Where's that shit? Yep. All right, so this morning I started a project. Made some pretty good progress. Let's listen to what it sounds like so far. Maybe we might try to put some lyrics or something to it. Not lyrics, but like some vocal samples that give it an emotional direction, I guess. Not so much singing as much just like weird sci-fi quotes and shit like that. There you have it. So we're gonna pick up from where we left off there. See what we can do. Oh, I got no audio. Let's see here. There we go. There's something else I think I wanted to fix too, but I can't remember what it was right off the bat. Oh, that's gotta be my Rezo Pops. Okay. Oh, I heard something I didn't like. These snares need to come over. That really fucked me up. Let's see if Saturn's got something a little bit better for this application.